Hello to me, Smigos Impossible Mikas. My name is Taffrey16. Welcome back to another reaction video, and today we're going to be watching the first two episodes of How TV Ruined Your Life. So these are channel points requests by Falcon. Thank you, Falcon, for using your points on this. So this is a 6-episode BBC Two television series written and presented by Charlie Brooker. If there's one thing I've learned about Charlie Brooker at this point is he's pretty much obsessed with television. This is the third television-related show I've seen from him. I've seen 2 episodes of Charlie Brooker's Screen Wipe, and also 2 episodes of You Have Been Watching. I believe I can put this on YouTube. I think we're going to find out. But yeah, there's only 6 episodes of this total. They were broadcast between January and March of 2011, and we're going to watch the first 2. Here we go, episode 1.
Hello, Mrs. Catherton.
Can I come round and show you the pamphlets for the fate?
Yeah. Just let yourself in, okay? I've just got to do a piece to camera. There.
Oh.
See you later. Our world today is safer than it's ever been. Certainly safer than it was in medieval times. There's no packs of wolves roaming the countryside, gobbling villagers whole and then dabbing their lips dry on the nearest bit of tapestry. No bubonic plague blackening your fingertips and then turning your armpits into putrefied pockets of human wax. No witch finders killing your wife. These days, we've got it easy, and there's ever so little to be frightened of.
But the moment they appear on TV, even the quaintest surroundings can suddenly seem dramatically more dangerous.
The peaceful county of Devon is home to one of England's largest fireworks factories, but the tranquility is shattered.
Oh shit.
When a tiny spark sets off £18,000 of explosives.
Television's slightly hysterical take on the world has a way of colouring your everyday experience, as we'll see throughout this series.
True.
It often functions as a magic mirror, providing an endless stream of mesmerising unpleasantness. It shows you arresting tales of gory, bloody murder.
Imagine the height of the backswing to get spray marks that long.
Horrifying visions of mankind's inevitable demise. Eerily disturbing imagery designed to sell you protection.
So who knows what your family could be eating.
And more petrifying news coverage than you can shake a fish stick at.
Is Britain sliding toward chaos?
No wonder all these people are so terrified on the inside. They're not even safe in their own homes as they sit there staring at a machine that warns them worse is to come.
This week, how TV ruined your life by shouting boo in your mind. Don't say it didn't. It did.
It did, yeah. Fear.
It can happen anywhere, to anyone. An ordinary street, a moment's thoughtlessness.
Watch out, old man. Oh, got him.
That's a characteristically cheerful public information film, or
No.
one of many thousands of government-approved mini-horror movies designed to fear you into not going all dead.
Oh.
Early public information films consisted of patronising cartoons.
A bicycle isn't at all under control when ridden freehand.
Hysterical bollockings.
Polish a floor, put a rug on it. You might as well set a man trap.
Or cautionary tales which simply barked at you like a Joe Bugner.
Hey, what do you think you're doing? Come back here.
Go on, Joe, knock some sense into him.
If you go on like that, you could be in big trouble.
You know, it's a bit rich taking health and safety advice from a man who hits people in the face for a living. Effectively, this was the man using television to command you, the citizen, to behave for your own good.
That's better. Be smart. Be safe.
This man was safe. Until now.
In the late 20th century, one of the greatest challenges facing the UK was the population's apparent ignorance of how a new technology known as electricity worked.
And anyone who touches him also gets a shock.
Compounding the issue, this widespread lack of knowledge coincided with a nationwide craze for leisure activities involving long conductive objects.
Watch out!
Yeah, I've seen Play Safe.
Oh, God. Those wires are live.
If you want to have fun and stay alive, keep away from overhead power lines.
Yeah, and if you want to have fun but you're not fussed about staying alive, buy a kite.
Watch out!
Oh, he did.
Simply wouldn't have happened if he'd used a wooden kite.
True.
Idiot.
Shit.
In the light of such carnage, playing with an object not directly attached to your hands might have seemed like a sensible option, unless, like famous electrocution victim Jimmy, you lobbed it up a substation and got pussy whipped into retrieving it.
Go on, get it.
Oh, it's still from PlaySafe, okay.
Careful, Jimmy, you don't want to get splinters breaking into that high voltage substation.
Jimmy! There we go.
Oh, yeah. Now you cry. A minute ago it was all, oh, go and get it, Jimmy. Oh, do it for me, Jimmy. I mean, I'd call her a typical woman, but she isn't. She's just a horrid little girl. Anyway, against the odds, Jimmy survived that incident and is still alive today.
Nice.
People still bring up the whole Frisbee thing. And I mean, yeah, it stung a bit, obviously, but it wasn't as grievous as they made out in the film. In some ways, having 66,000 volts zip through you can be quite pleasant. I actually work in toy design now.
Oh.
We're trying to create a less aerodynamic Frisbee to protect future generations. Me and Sal are still together. We really bonded after the accident, much as my trainers bonded to my feet due to the intense heat generated.
Jimmy!
As we've seen, many early piffs had a nakedly bossy hue. But today the establishment holds less sway and the man in the street no longer responds to the voice of authority ordering them about.
What would you say if David Cameron told you not to throw a Frisbee up a pylon?
I'll do it anyway.
Hence, piffs have changed tack and the authoritarian instruction has largely been removed, leaving behind nothing but cold horror in its wake.
Understandable.
Today's piffs are little more than a ruthless cavalcade of raw physical horror, gory slapstick and jaw-droppingly morbid appeals to personal guilt. Ah, typical kids today, just lying around.
Yeah.
Peekaboo! Cheer up, mate, at least you got a free draft excluder out of it. But in our putrid modern hell, it's not just cars and pylons that'll hurt you, no. You're a danger to yourself. If you're not puffing your way to a personal clogged pipe Armageddon, you're boozing yourself dumb and tumbling from a scaffold, or Pete Docketying yourself before heading out on the tiles. Rather than using calm reason, most corrective television uses fear to hammer its message
You wouldn't
home.
download a car.
It's one of the most powerful ways to grab an audience's attention, but why?
Well, for one thing, no matter how sophisticated we humans appear to be with our fancy shoes and Nintendo Wiis and whatnot, our brains are still cursed with a paleo-mammalian limbic system which the modern iPad-owning part of us can't control.
Our fear responses are governed by twin almond-shaped clusters of nuclei known as the amygdalae, sort of primitive reactionary mind nuts beyond the reach of human intellect, a bit like TalkSport presenters.
The point of the amygdalae is essentially protection.
You're supposed to be stimulated when confronted by a loud noise or a sudden movement because, well, it could be a lion leaping in to attack you.
Oh, got him.
That's why it's almost impossible to ignore anything which seems like a threat, be it a lion or a scary newsreader.
A strong possibility of attack. The spectre of Irish terrorism returns to British soil.
The amygdalae are also thought to be closely associated with memory, so if you have an unpleasant experience and your amygdalae are stimulated, an association quickly forms in your head.
That's why the man uses scare tactics to mould your behaviour from an early age. But when you're a kid, it's not just the stuff that's meant to be frightening that's frightening. That's because children's entertainment has long been a quite hideously disturbing carnival of grotesque imagery, and kids' TV is no different. When I was a child, I was scared of all manner of ostensibly innocent things, such as the manic cackling witch Fenella who lent an air of demented menace to the otherwise charming Chorlton and the Wheelies. Then there was Pipkins, a downbeat lo-fi take on Sesame Street in which a gang of grimy puppets who seemed to be living in some kind of squat wrestled with existential dilemmas.
Why do people have to die? Why can't they just live forever?
Because that's the way it is, Top Half. Everything and everybody has to die.
So that's the way it is, Big Bird.
That's just the way it is. Look, I'm going to put the kettle on and make a cup of tea. Sure you'll feel better after that.
God, and if the concept of death has blown Topov's mind, imagine how he'll react when he realises he can't taste that cup of tea because his tongue's made of felt.
Or if he has to pay tax.
The ostensibly harmless Jigsaw was also tempered by regular sightings of Mr. Nosy Bonk.
I've seen this.
A phallic symbol who appeared to have stepped straight out of a prepubescent nightmare. A lot of kids' TV was so creepy, it sometimes seemed the people behind it were deliberately trying to scare the viewer with eerie imagery, and the scarier a kid's show was, the more likely it'll have lodged in our collective memory. I'm talking, of course, about Orlov.
Do you remember Orlov? He was a kind of egg-shaped thing. And just for the purposes of this, could you say that you do remember him?
Yeah. Okay.
Do you remember Orlov?
Yeah.
I
remember him.
What did he look like?
Shape of an egg.
And
Got
now
him.
on BBC One, egg-shaped animation, which everyone in the nation is certain to remember in 30 years' time.
Yeah.
Orlov.
Is that a nuclear warhead?
Orlov. Orlov's enjoying an afternoon snooze.
Oh, shit ass.
Someone's not happy. That's his nest. What's going on in that little bird's mind? I suppose all animals are ultimately unknowable, even our parents. Little birdie's going up top, and he's got an audience. We're all passive observers of what follows. I wouldn't do that. Now, everything is over. The actors leave the stage.
Good lord. Hey, that reminds me, I'm going to watch Where the Wind Blows pretty soon.
Yes, during my formative years, mushroom clouds were all the rage.
I'm being serious.
Britain's doctors say 33 million people in this country may be killed and injured in a nuclear war.
To my babyish eyes, it seemed every news bulletin consisted of nuclear paranoia, Mrs. Thatcher, blood-curdling statistics about the inevitable apocalypse. And the only people trying to stop this madness seemed to be kindly dinner ladies and Lofty off EastEnders.
If we have got peace camps, non-violent direct action outside every nuclear base in this country, they can't shift us.
Yeah, except maybe with water cannons or tasers or bulldozers, or I suppose they could always just walk in and physically pick you up. What I'm saying is they can shift you.
They absolutely can.
Despite the high stakes, however, it was hard for the average viewer to picture a nuclear war. I mean, we'd seen what happened in Hiroshima, but that was black and white and crackly and seemed to mainly affect Japanese people living in the 1940s, so it didn't really count. What the average Brit needed was a no-nonsense visual guide to what could happen, and hallelujah, that's precisely what they got. In 1982, the BBC broadcast a QED special called A Guide to Armageddon, which simulated the consequences of 1 megaton nuclear bomb going pop a mile over St Paul's Cathedral. Apparently, the heat alone would be inconsiderate enough to slightly damage the cross on top of St Paul's, spoil a few windows, leave a Bible looking dog-eared, slightly devalue the contents of the National Gallery, and boil the Serpentine a bit. It would be bad news for anyone who enjoys not burning to death in an incinerated car or bus, and even if you live 4 miles away and were hiding indoors, it was probably going to go down as one of your least favourite afternoons, especially if you've been looking forward to reading Woman's Own. In fact, if you were even vaguely nearby, your body would frazzle like a carbonised lamb chop unless you were standing as far away as Wimbledon, at which point at least one of your eyebrows would survive.
Right.
Yeah, it looks pretty nasty, but the ladies love a war wound, yeah? You'd be beating them off with a stick. Albeit a burnt, smouldering, radioactive stick. Anyway, in case you're worried the situation seems hopeless, the show went on to highlight some of the defensive measures the average 1980s couple could take. Following the Helpful Protect and Survive pamphlet, the duo whitewashed their windows and construct a bijou shelter under the stairs, perfect for enjoying a cup of tea in. And they fare pretty well.
The whitewash keeps 80% of the heat out. There may be fires in unprotected houses nearby, but Joy and Eric should survive.
Barely.
At least for 17 seconds. After that, the blast demolishes their terrace of houses.
The QED Atomic Splattacular proved so entertaining it convinced the BBC to make Threads, possibly the most frightening drama ever broadcast on British television.
Heard of this.
Threads graphically depicted how a nuclear bomb could cause millions of pounds worth of improvement to Sheffield's architecture. The moment of detonation itself was brilliantly realised, rammed with stark, horrifying images that set amygdala across the nation lighting up like the residents of Sheffield.
Jesus Christ.
I was about to say the same thing.
And then just when you think things can't get any worse, they do. Because Threads keeps going, trudging into the grim aftermath as Sheffield is transformed into an almost Plymouth-style wasteland in which people eat rats like they're cream buns and the cast of Last of the Summer Wine is hopelessly depressed. And even Ron Weasley isn't safe.
Shit! No!
guess if Threads had an overall
Weaselby.
theme, it was, oh shit. The next morning, BBC reporters descended on Sheffield to gauge how the locals reacted to seeing their homes and workplaces destroyed.
I quite enjoyed it, actually. But,
enjoyed seems a strange word to use of such a harrowing play.
Yeah, it may be, but I didn't find it frightening at all.
At around the same time, the Americans had a pop at nuclear drama themselves with the vaguely more upbeat The Day After, which starred Steve Guttenberg in a tale of everyday burning, screaming Americans. Just like Threads, it depicted billowing mushroom clouds, which looked a bit like the world's grooviest lava lamp. And a hilarious sequence in which a kiddywink gets a bit too much nuclear war in his eye. Anyway, Steve Guttenberg survives by hiding in a shop.
Of course.
Although the radiation does leave him looking a little less cocksure by the end. After US President Ronald Reagan saw this, he wrote in his diary that it was very effective and had left him greatly depressed. And not long afterwards, the superpowers adopted a policy of arms reduction, culminating in the signing of the Intermediate Nuclear Arms Force Treaty in Reykjavik. So in summary, Steve Guttenberg saved the world. Thanks, Steve. Don't make any more films. Thanks to Guttenberg's selfless sacrifice, today's world isn't facing all-out nuclear war between two superpowers, yet it feels more chaotic and perilous than it did back in the 80s. Perhaps because the presentation of current affairs has become more chaotic and perilous. It's almost a hyper-edited, real-time televisual thriller.
Tonight, can the world come together to confront a rogue nation?
Not North Korea.
Today, tuning into the news is like looking directly into the face of terror.
A chilling new look tonight at the face of terror. Video of a suicide bomber smiling for the camera as he gets ready for his deadly mission in Afghanistan.
This is like a jihadist 24. It's got that tension in it that you can't really turn yourself away.
And you can't really turn yourself away because you're biologically programmed to pay attention to any potential threat. The amygdala may fire off in response to the pre-programmed terrors we're born with, instinctive fear of loud noises and sudden movements and the like, but it's also easy for them to help us learn to fear almost anything. Television can certainly condition you to be frightened of all sorts of things. For example, dark city streets. Most of the dark city streets you see are on television. And what's happening in them? Well, usually something awful like a mugging or a murder, or at best a horrific sexual encounter involving a tramp and a bull mastiff if you're watching German television. In the 1970s, Professors George Gerbner and Larry Gross of the University of Pennsylvania carried out pioneering research into the effect of television on viewers. They believed that within a few decades, television had come to enjoy a degree of influence on modern society that was comparable to the power religion held over mankind for centuries. Gerbner and Gross developed a hypothesis known as cultivation theory. Cultivation theory says that over time, watching television alters a viewer's perception of reality, that their view of the real world starts to march in step with that of the televised one. And the more frequently an image or event is depicted on screen, the greater significance the cultivated viewer attaches to it in the real world. Since much of TV consists of dramatic conflict, violent action, and alarming news coverage, the more you watch, the more passive, nervous, and frightened you become. Gerbner called this mean world syndrome, quite literally the belief that your world has become a mean and frightening place. Gerbner's research appeared to show that heavy viewers often overestimated the amount of risk they faced in everyday life. They were more likely to believe crime rates were rising even when they were falling, and often thought they were more likely to become victims of crime themselves. And switching it off doesn't make you feel any safer, because now that's shut up, you're more aware than ever of the glowering silence all around.
Oh, Lord.
What's that?
Oh.
Hello? Hello? Is there someone there? I'll call the police. Oh, piss. Crime Watch began in 1984 and was originally fronted by concerned parental types Nick Ross and Sue Cook. They were assisted by an aquarium full of coppers and a duo of plausibly stilted police presenters.
This knife is believed to have been used in the attack.
But the real stars were the accompanying gallery of apparently furious and anonymous men perpetually glaring at you like the participants in a special Strangeways edition of the board game Guess Who. Slightly more realistic suspects and actors peopled the rest of the show, popping up in murky CCTV footage and posing for reconstruction snaps like they were modelling the latest in fashionable crimeware. The most frightening crime of all is, of course, murder.
Oh, God!
And there's no danger of a TV murder shortage anytime soon. Not that regular murderers are dangerous enough
gave
for
her
the
the key,
televised world where they're routinely depicted as criminal geniuses playing a diabolical game of cat and mouse with a troubled police detective wearing the worried expression of a bloodhound opening a court summons. Yes, according to television, most killers are artisan killers whose every offering deserves to be analysed for literary merit, and they're markedly more vicious than almost any of their real-life equivalents. Take the maniac running riot in the inaugural episode of the dark, moody Wire in the Blood, which featured a madman who specialised in creating diabolical implements of torture in the most upsetting Blue Peter makes ever captured on tape. No, I've got one of those actually. It's the IKEA Speichen-Sit. Like the best TV monsters, this killer also sent tapes of his victims to taunt the police.
We've just received this from the post room addressed to Bradfield CID.
Hi. I'm Police Constable Damien O'Connell.
Hi Damien, how's it going?
Oh.
Not so good then. Typical police, sitting on their arse. Of course, most real-life murderers aren't unstoppable artistic killing machines, but somewhat pathetic individuals who've done something awful in an ill-thought-out panic. And most of them simply don't know what to do after committing their crime. It's not like there's an advice hotline they can turn to.
Welcome back. Now, if you've just joined us, the former Beast of Brighton, rehabilitated murderer Ashley Studd, is answering your queries. So if you've just killed somebody, do call in.
For now, on line 3, we've got Sue from Gosforth. Sue, what's happened?
Blood is everywhere. I mean, there's blood everywhere. I can't feel my hands. I don't even know if these are my hands.
Well, Sue, take a step back mentally. Catch your breath. Quieten your mind as much as you can. So, you've literally just murdered someone, have you, Pat?
Yeah, I think...
And everything seems a bit unreal.
Yeah.
Well, that's normal. That's absolutely what I'd expect to find.
His eyes open. His eyes open.
Never mind his eye. That'd stay open even if you sawed his head off. Have you got a top on, a blouse, or...
I'm in a T-shirt.
OK, what I want you to do is take it off and drape it over his face. That'll stop you looking in his eye. And we've got to get rid of the clothing you're wearing anyway because of DNA. Can you do that for me?
I'm doing it now.
Good girl.
I can't feel my hands.
What was that, Sue?
She keeps saying she can't feel her hands.
Yes, that's the adrenaline. It's a fascinating mindset. I used to think I could climb into the air in the room, or that my brain was made of stallions.
How can it?
Right, now, you need to chuck the rest of your clothes on him, set fire to the house, and leave town.
TV loves presenting you with fearful tales of murder, but it's often a curiously reassuring type of fear which reinforces the notion that real life follows a dramatic narrative in which the dastardly villains are brought to justice. When undeniably random bad things do make it on screen, TV processes them on your behalf, turning them into titillation in shows like the enthusiastic 999, which enabled viewers to enjoy mindless emergencies in the comfort of their own homes.
Tonight, the little boy who was swept over a waterfall, and the teenagers who came to the rescue.
Boo! 999 justified its existence by alerting the public to important issues like lifebelt theft.
4,000 life belts like this one are stolen or go missing every year.
Shit! Yeah, people just toss them in the sea. It's an outrage. It also afforded Michael Burke an opportunity to ask the important questions.
Have you ever thought what it'd be like to be stuck in the path of a giant digger?
No, why don't you paint a picture for me? 999's jaunty, low-budget reconstructions look altogether genteel compared to the effects-laden reconstruction extravaganzas of today. Shows like Air Crash Investigation, which ostensibly exist to give you a greater insight into airline safety, but are actually all about giving your fear cells a cheeky tickle. Air Crash Investigation combines impressive special effects with an almost pornographic focus on the human terror of the passengers and crew. There's also dialogue torn from the black box recorder and shoved in the mouths of actors.
Push it up! Push it where? Where?
Where?
Where?
Where?
You know, there's surprisingly racy dialogue on these black box recorders. In fact, you could probably run an entire adult channel where girls read it out for the benefit of people who can't decide whether they prefer air crashes or masturbating.
Push it up. Push it way up. Way up. Way up.
Anyway, much like the best pornography, Air Crash Investigation features lots of tense stick-gripping action, sweaty shots of a Ron Jeremy type juddering away, and of course the inevitable money shot. Even though though you're 20 times more likely to die during the drive to the airport than you are on the plane, chances are this is the kind of dramatic image your brain has helpfully associated with air travel. Apparently concerned it might be running out of nasty real-life threats to warn you about, TV has started visually speculating about bad stuff that hasn't happened but might.
One day, the world will end.
In recent years, there's been a slew of scary, hand-wringing, what-if drama documentaries depicting what could occur if things got even more dangerous for humankind than they already are. We've seen spectacular simulations of what might happen if Yellowstone Park suddenly blew up, hard-hitting investigations into what might happen if the sun suddenly ballooned in size.
This is a world we can barely imagine.
And spine-tingling visualisations of how things might look if a large hadron collider went a bit Amstrad. In fact, it sometimes seems there's no end to TV's perpetual quest to helpfully alert the viewer to new potential threats. In television's hypothetical universe, danger could spring from literally anywhere.
Morning. Uh-oh.
Britain's homes and offices contain an estimated 3 billion pens. The rise of computers may have dented their popularity, yet millions of us rely on pens every day. But what would happen if these apparently harmless writing implements turned on their users by heating up inexplicably?
Written communication is one of mankind's greatest achievements.
Pencil
it evolved over
consultant.
centuries, yet today we take it for granted. If our ability to produce handwritten notes were to be affected by an unexpected increase in pen temperature, it could have grave consequences for every man, woman, and child on the planet.
By 10 a.m., manual writing implements nationwide are being hastily abandoned. There are widespread injuries, with casual office doodlers amongst the first casualties. In the markets of Soho, stallholders can no longer price up their vegetables. Fortunately, in today's modern workplace, forgoing pens isn't the hindrance it once was.
Oh no!
But by lunchtime, the heat is spreading to computer keyboards.
If typing became impossible, or at best extremely painful, it would transform the online world in an instant. Internet speech would become even more incomprehensible and angry than ever.
Anxious citizens turn to news networks for information. But with no typewritten text on the autocue, news anchors are powerless to help. The government calls an emergency meeting to grab hold of the situation.
Oh, it's that guy.
Look, we won't get through this by meaninglessly jabbering over each other like dogs on a speedboat. We need to keep a cool head. Okay, we need to collate what we know.
Collate?
And then... Hold on.
Disaster strikes at mid-afternoon as people's voices start to get hot.
Oh no.
Soon, there will be no way for humans to communicate at all.
This seems like a
Plunging
Doctor Who
our
episode.
planet into a new dark age, and eventually causing it to explode.
Or a Torchwood Season 1 episode.
Alarming though much of television is, as we stare into our screens, desperately gazing into the light like a rodent suckling at a consolatory teat, the warning box is comforting us even as it scares. It says if you obey the man, you can avoid danger. It transforms random calamity into Hollywood-style entertainment, rendering it less real. It says the good guys will defeat the evil guys, and it says Steve Guttenberg can save the world. It makes sense of our universe in a way that's as soothing as it is fake.
Morning!
And what's more, it gets away with it, and that is frightening.
Damn it, Charlie. You can't keep getting away with this.
Hugh Dennis and some of the freshest comedy talent around play fast and loose with improvisation. Friday at 10 here on BBC Two.
I've never seen
And
that.
to have a laugh now, BBC Three is the place to be with the lively coming of age gang.
Okay. Well, good start there. It was somewhat similar to his other shows, but also different. It's funny too because he would end up creating a show with alternate scary universes in Black Mirror. Wonder where he got them ideas from. Oh man, but I mean, it's definitely true. You know, I mean, the television makes people, and not just television now. It's definitely, I think it's more so the internet now than television. This is probably true at the time because it was 2011. But I mean, the internet's progressed a lot in the last 12 years. That's probably overtaken television as the top fear factor. You know, but yeah, I guess the lesson take from this is just let life happen. Yeah.
With every passing second, each of these unsuspecting humanoids crawls 1/60th of a minute closer to Coffin O'Clock. As we make the journey from the cradle to the grave, we'll make and lose countless friends along the way. But one companion who'll be by our side throughout is Mr. Terry Television, who's been there for us, holding our brain's hand through each increasingly shaky footfall. But television doesn't seem to like us whatever age we are, whether it's painting young people as tearaway yobs.
How does it make you feel when you see your face on the front page of the Birmingham Mail like that, cast as a yob?
I am a yob.
Or old people as hilarious irrelevancies. Little wonder we've come to view ageing as a sign of incompetence. To what extent do you think old people have failed?
Probably to quite a large extent.
Yeah.
This week, how TV ruined your life by ruining each individual stage of your life. Don't say it didn't. It did.
What's the title of this? The Life Cycle, okay.
This is the top secret research facility where TV executives, marketing experts and psychopaths attempt to discover what makes the different age groups tick. Television takes the business of targeting different age groups very seriously, and it's a process that begins early on from the moment when you first emerge blinking and shrieking from the womb.
Childbirth is a miracle, albeit perhaps the most visually repugnant miracle it's possible to imagine short of watching a horse shitting a wheelbarrow. But nevertheless, people seem fond of these gurgling semi-humanoid gumps. While there are some bespoke programs for babies, presumably few sane adults consider them worthwhile viewing. There are shows like the Twee Baby Einstein series, a set of quasi-instructive montages of colours and puppets and shapes.
I used to watch
eager young
those.
parents buy and play to their offspring in the hope this will somehow boost the child's intellect, although I'd say in educational terms it's probably about as effective as rubbing a dictionary on your baby's head. But if babies don't use TV, TV is only too happy to use babies as Wickle salespeople.
Been around the world, seen so many pretty girls, but I still get overwhelmed when I look in your eyes.
Wow, he really is inordinately pleased to have abducted that baby. Yes, babies are often cynically employed to help shift products they can't even use. Now, if I transplanted a baby's head onto a loaf of bread in a bid to improve sales, people would call me a monster. But apparently it's just fine when an international organisation digitally transplants babies' heads onto CGI bodies in order to flog bottles of water. To be fair, that is quite cute, albeit despicable. As babies get older and even more bothersome, they mutate into children who are well catered for by television with thousands of entertainment vehicles at their disposal. They're also used in adverts as visual shorthand for innocence and heritage. It's at this point TV starts sorting the flesh blobs into easily manageable categories, boys and girls. So boys are assailed by short sales pitches promoting mindless, devious violence.
Hi, partner, read!
Here's how the quick shooter hat works. Just press this secret button right here, and a replica of an authentic Western pistol pops out and fires.
And extended sales pitches full of fantasy monsters and fighting and lasers and explosions, while girls are bombarded with eerie adverts for nightmarish dolls.
Look who's come to your house to stay. A pal you can play with all day long. She's Patty Play Pal, a big doll, big as a 3-year-old, and Patty's real as life.
And adverts which should help fuel that future image neurosis.
Beautiful Chrissy has beautiful hair that grows.
He has beautiful hair. She
That
has
grows.
beautiful eyes.
No, she
He
doesn't.
has beautiful clothes.
And the moment they mature to tweenhood, hideous propaganda films about Miley Cyrus. The pioneering queen of tween role models is Hannah Montana, a wisecracking, warbling smartass played by Miley Cyrus, who's perhaps the only convincing argument I've ever seen for China's unofficial policy of discarding female infants at birth. Hannah Montana features a colour palette so garish watching it feels like being stabbed in the eye with a sharpened lollipop, and a cast who seem to communicate exclusively via irritating sounds.
Say what? And that's all fresh.
I suppose that counts as naturalistic dialogue if you grew up in Little Yelping on the Shriek. Despite looking young enough to have gnawed through her own umbilical cord shortly before each scene, Hannah herself leads a surprisingly adult life, especially with boys, with whom she has a chaste but surprisingly confusing relationship.
I'm gonna tell you something that I've never told anyone before.
Please don't have a hairy back. Please don't have a hairy back.
Usually if a 13-year-old's worried her lover might have a hairy back, it's because she's been trafficked. After tweens come teenagers.
Jesus.
Teenagers are, by their very nature, a sulky, arrogant group consisting of nothing but grease, pus, hormones, hair gel and obstinance, whose chief role in society is to scoff at absolutely everyone else.
There used to be so few programmes aimed at teens that merely spotting one on screen was a novelty. When they did appear, they were routinely portrayed as confused, alienated loners with silly dress sense.
Teddy boys, I don't like them at all. I was going to the chemist the other day for medicine for my children. It was rather a deserted street and there was about 6 of them coming along and they thought they'd have a go at me. But I singled out the ringleader and I give him a real good punching on the nose.
Oh, well, let's hope you beat some civility into him. Either that or they were irredeemable tearaway yobbo gangs terrorising the good people of Britain and their cats.
What sort of things do you do?
Killing cats.
Passenger, knocking mopeds. Knocking booze out of the pavilion.
Getting chased. Killing cats.
We like getting chased a lot by blokes and all that.
Killing cats.
Just for a laugh.
By the late 1970s, teenagers were so hopelessly out of control, desperate measures were called for in the shape of the BBC's Community Programmes Unit.
Oh boy.
The Community Programmes Unit had had a brainwave. Why not give teenagers aged between 16 and 20 a 45-minute show of their very own and let them decide the content? It couldn't possibly fail, unless it inevitably did.
Hello, this is Something Else from Manchester. And for anyone who doesn't know just what they're in for, I'd better explain.
Something Else was a painfully right-on affair from the very beginning, awkwardly mixing live punk performances with stilted political debate.
In the studio, we've got The Clash and Joan Lester, MP for Eton and Slough. Do you think it's going to be a total disinterest in politics in the future?
I don't know, maybe I'll grow up to be Prime Minister.
Who knows?
Also embarrassing folk songs from shy, earnest types.
When I come to London, I often feel a bit distressed because it seems rather impersonal and unfriendly.
Oh yeah, try visiting Darfur, I'm sure you'd get on well there.
I've written a song which seems relevant to that.
Oh, no.
It's called Who Am I?
Go on then, spit it out.
Who am I? Who am I? Another day, another futile cry.
It was also defiantly and in fact boringly anti-establishment, with all authoritarian figures coming in for a rather unfair going over.
Constable, why do you pick on young people?
Why do I pick on young people?
You, the police force in general.
I don't think we do pick on young people at all.
Well, I do. I just want, you know.
Well, you give me an instance and why we pick on people, or when we have.
Well, they seem to pick on young people more than you do on the older people.
No, not at all.
Well, I think so.
If something else is to be believed, in the late 70s, teenagers looked about 38 and were neurotically concerned with discussing issues and pleasing the viewer.
Yeah. What didn't we do that we should have done? Does it make a difference having a programme made like this? Please write. We really would like to hear from you.
By the time the teenager concept was tried again in 2006, this time in a groundbreaking Channel 4 show called Whatever, presentational styles and the notion of what constitutes an issue had both become a little more bad.
I couldn't live without pussy and my mum. Don't put them two things together because I'll slap you.
I'm most proud that I've got big boobs and when I take my bra off, they don't move.
My best feature is I talk shit. I can talk shit to the world.
Coming up on tonight's Whatever. Everything you ever wanted to know about LA gangbangers, pervy sex toys, and comedy drug abuse.
One of my
favourite UK hip-hop artist. Make some fucking noise for Plan B!
Yeah, looking at this, it's little wonder TV viewing's on the wane among whippersnappers.
Good
As
God.
young viewers continue to desert television in favour of gawping at the App Store or snorting fish food or whatever the hell it is they do, TV has redoubled its attempts to woo them.
Because these young viewers have disposable income.
The 16 to 24 age bracket is a group TV as a whole is desperately keen to pander to with predictably awful results.
Who's hungry?
Case in point, the repugnant, cackling Doritos Friend Chips gang who represented 20-somethings for several dark years in the early noughties. These massive wankers didn't just crystallise everything that's wrong with TV's assumptions about young people, they also crystallised everything that's wrong with humankind as a species. The gang were horrifically shallow and spent most of their time chuckling at their own witlessness, like toddlers amused by their own turds.
What's this one? It's a Stegosaurus.
It's an extinct stegosaurus.
It's Stegosaurus!
You bastards.
I'm not sure if I'm entirely happy with this manicure.
You scum.
Why would you escape the rat or the ninja?
Hey, you crisps and off. Yes, television constantly assumes all 16 to 24-year-olds are mindless jigging gits.
As a consequence, glib, meaningless images of you continually piss from every screen as though the channels are engaged in some sort of unofficial contest to see who can produce the most vapid, lowest common denominator screen turds imaginable.
It's like they've got no idea. Any old shit will do, whether it's banal footage of Peter Andre roving the earth like a backward half-emu carrot man, or a turgid exploration of the latest celebrity Aunt Sally's, or a gaudy reality show about overconfident, smiling young bucks, or a terrible sex-obsessed sitcom starring a cast at least 10 years older than the characters they're playing.
Time for a post-wank sandwich.
And dare I ask what that consists of?
Oh, well, if you must know, I grip my penis, then I pump it up and down until seminal fluid is...
I mean the sandwich, you big gusset twonk.
Oh, just bread and butter.
Plus the odd pube.
Serves you right for not controlling your urges.
I couldn't help myself. Caught sight of Casey in the shower. She weren't just washing either. She was twitching the curtain.
You what?
You know, pushing the envelope, rubbing the nubbin, putting sud on the bud, cleaning the bin, taking a degree in English literature.
Okay,
English literature.
Oh, so would she, given half the chance.
As you pass into your 30s, you're supposed to finally start feeling like you're an adult.
Oh, the Clockwork
In
Orange
fact,
theme
the
again.
only insight you'll probably get is a sudden realisation that all the adults who went before you didn't have a clue what they were doing at this age either.
It's an age at which people often start spawning offspring and spending their evenings trapped indoors with the TV, which is probably why TV assumes you'll be interested in programmes all about being indoors, such as hypnotic aspirational property shows like Grand Designs, or programmes that make the outside world look off-puttingly dangerous. Either that or mindless family-oriented Saturday night distraction festivals. Oh God, the horror.
Or
The
reaction
horror,
videos
the
on
horror,
YouTube.
The horror.
The horror.
I've always had an innate horror of becoming a dad, largely and irrationally based on the portrayal of dads on TV.
Hello.
Hi, Dad.
Advertising dads are almost without exception tragic, shuffling, pitiful individuals who shouldn't be fronting adverts at all but lined up before a ditch and coldly shot in the back of the head to put them out of their misery. They're often plump, tortoisey men with nothing left to look forward to except plopping their carcasses down in front of the TV to watch them match, a treat they don't even feel they deserve.
This would be great for watching the World Cup, this. 40-inch, built-in Freeview HD, the lot.
Get
it. You deserve a treat.
Really? They're men who've given up. Take the 1980s Oxo dad. What sort of life did he have? Ignored by his offspring? Belittled by his wife?
Stop being so silly.
Perpetually depicted as being hopeless around the house?
Oh, Mum's out. I'm cooking.
Utter disrespect.
Freeze.
The poor couldn't even organise a fireworks display without being picked on by his own kin.
Pathetic.
Yeah, and £2 if it was mine.
That's nice. Disgusting. No wonder he sometimes tries to liven up his sorry existence by making lame jokes which nobody even finds amusing.
Look out! Bangers!
Got him.
Oh,
very funny.
Oh, he made a joke, you ingrates. Look, now he's crushed. Are you happy now? Are you happy now? You've broken him? How could you? You monsters! Little wonder some dads seem to lose their minds completely and regress to childhood.
With nuts and raisins.
Oh, God, I remember this from my childhood and it's absolutely heartbreaking. This man isn't funny. He's having a massive mental breakdown.
Once upon a time, everyone on TV was middle-aged, and if they weren't, they at least looked like they were actively moving towards middle age.
Yeah, that's true.
The only place you saw grown adults not acting their age was on kids' shows. But today, middle-aged men don't seem to be allowed to act their age anywhere on screen. Their easy smiles mask the tragedy that they're grown adults forced to behave like adolescents to appeal to the younger generation.
Got him.
It must be absolute hell.
Youth-oriented BBC Three sitcom Bumming Off, currently in its 16th season, has never been a favourite of the critics.
What's up with you?
Why aren't you wet?
Because I don't fancy you.
Lead character Tyrone, ostensibly aged 23, is played by 45-year-old Damien Spence.
I have been Tyrone now for 17 years now. And in that time, I've seen off most of the rest of the cast.
Like Daniel Craig, for instance.
Daniel Craig, yeah, he was my brother the first two series. We had a lot of fun before he swanned off to play Mr. Bond in those successful films. So, just me now. I mean, we're under no illusion here. You know, Bumming Off is populist. You know, it's not trying to be high theatre.
He means he thought you were in the shower.
He what?
Yeah, I saw you taking off your pink dressing gown.
You mean the one I lent me mum?
How long would you like to stay in the role?
Now, I imagine I'll be here till they carry me out of a little wooden box. Or until the series is cancelled and, you know, quietly end things on my own in my dressing room. Just say the word. Any time. No, I mean it. Any time at all.
Back in ye day, most TV shows were designed for an audience of adults, different ages and haircuts, admittedly,
that nuclear bomb in the background?
Nonetheless.
Barry, Sylvia, Christopher, Louis, Ray, Cheryl, Bob, Linda are all here to play Larry Grayson's Generation Game.
The family unit that the big entertainment shows were aimed at revolved around the wants and needs of the parents, not the kids.
You have 1 minute, 15 seconds to fill a camel, starting now. That's it, force it in.
But by the late 80s, those kids had grown up to be young TV producers themselves, and the result was whizzy info-packed shows like Network 7, which prided themselves on being cutting-edge and full of young faces. This, in turn, begat the Love It or Hate It weekly cringe fest, which was the word which set the template of almost every youth show to follow. Outrage, idiocy, smut, idiocy, humiliation and idiocy. As cable and satellite TV flowered during the 90s, fusty old variety club faces began to be replaced by a new wave of less trad presenters who dressed and behaved like irreverent younger folk and who appeared to take absolutely nothing seriously. Before long, everyone was being flip and cool while the old dinosaurs were being mocked in cruelly observed comedies. But it wasn't just presenters who were getting younger.
Not so long ago, when our minds were less dominated by image, politicians were allowed, nay, expected, to resemble the human equivalent of a dusty old ledger.
But as
They
politicians'
still
screen
are.
presence became increasingly important, they started feeling the pressure to look young too, until by 1997 even the establishment itself seemed to have been replaced by a younger, brighter, grinnier, more relaxed model.
Zip forward to today and all our major political figures look like bland air freshener salesmen or nice neighbours from a shit soap opera. Even Hollywood stars who are selfishly beautiful to begin with feel the pressure, surgically transforming themselves into nightmarish, simplified facsimiles of human beings which wouldn't look out of place in a third-rate Scarborough Waxworks museum.
I mean, Faye Dunaway now looks like Faye Dunaway as described by a lunatic. And Mickey Rourke, well, you could use a photo of Mickey Rourke to scare a child away from a plate of cookies.
Yeah, he looks like a melting ice sculpture.
Having helped to establish youth as the ultimate desire, TV's only too happy to exploit your desperate attempts to cling on to it. Commercial breaks are awash with pitches for anti-aging products with stupid names.
Introducing a new reversalist.
I mean, look at that, a new reversalist. It's a bit like calling it time denialist or Canuto cream. These are disturbing mini-movies presenting a shimmering vision of a potentially youthier you rendered possible by dubious-sounding miracle science.
When they analyzed my face at the Pons Institute, it showed that my fine lines and age spots disappeared. It's okay to be 40, just as long as you look 30.
And apparently it's okay to look 30 if you sound about 9. There's no age you're allowed to let yourself go anymore. No, the cosmetics industry will remorselessly chase you past the menopause and towards the coffin.
I'm 68, and Age-Re Perfect Pro Calcium is the future of my skin and yours.
God, 68 and still smearing cosmetic paint on your canvas. What next? Skeleton polishing cream? Little wonder TV devotes much of its schedule to making older people look younger, perhaps never more overtly than in Channel 4's long-running 10 Years Younger, a devastatingly mean makeover show in which a punter is stripped almost naked and paraded in front of the public who attempt to guess how close to the grave she is. Of course, anyone who isn't devastatingly attractive is a non-person in telly terms, which is probably why they discuss her as if they're trying to guess the age of a rusting fixture on the side of a pier.
I think she's about 52 because she's quite wrinkly and her body's quite saggy. I'd say she's 54. She looks a little bit...
Is this a real show?
I'd say she's about 49. She looks really wrinkly and her stomach's all
Never heard of
horrible. So she probably has a few kids as well.
The average score of these worms is then totted up, and this notional number is gleefully recounted to the victim, I mean participant.
The result of their poll put you at an average age of 55. Okay.
Oh, well, look on the bright side. At least you're not so old your tear ducts have shriveled up. Luckily, help is at hand in the form of a creepy panel of experts who are more than happy to give her a full physical makeover in exchange for little more than a fee and nationwide television
I've never heard of this.
First, she meets a lovely surgeon with the bedside manner of a detached upholsterer.
She has quite a bit of excess here at the back, so what we'll do
That's
is
sexual
we'll lift
assault,
the skin
brother.
and take away some of that and create a better fold in the buffer.
Then she meets a lovely dentist.
If you give me a big wide smile, Heather, I mean, yeah, you can tell straight away. Teeth are really badly discoloured.
Try to keep that smile up, yeah? Then she gets sliced apart on camera, sewn back up, has her gnashes zhuzhed.
I just want to rant real quick. Like, don't be wrong, I'm not saying don't take care of your teeth. But, like, your teeth getting yellow over time, that's how that works. You know? That's how your teeth naturally look over time. They get more colored. You know? The whole teeth whitening with the bright fucking blinding white teeth thing is complete bullshit. Like, that's what happens with teeth. They color. Like, it doesn't even necessarily mean you weren't taking care of your teeth. That's just what fucking happens. Jesus.
Yeah, you can tell straight away. Teeth are really badly discoloured.
Try to keep that smile up, yeah? Then she gets sliced apart on camera, sewn back up, has her gnashes zhuzhed.
Still look fantastic. Yeah, it just doesn't look like my teeth.
That's because it's not your teeth.
No.
Then she's restyled, trimmed and oranged until finally TV considers her acceptable. At which point the show drags her back out to the beach for more people to say how old she is.
She looks...
I'd say about 40.
40, and what makes you
She
say
looks
that?
worse. She looks like she's from the Jersey Shore.
Note that during this bit they get them to guess her age face to face rather than standing in another time zone like they were earlier. Yes, all it takes to win public acceptance is a 3-month programme of intensive surgery and dentistry. Oh, and a swimsuit high enough to cover those surgical scars.
I've never heard of this, but it seems like the worst
you
show
can't
ever.
outrun the ageing process forever.
Once people pass a certain age, they're only allowed on TV if they're being patronised and treated as pets. Isn't that right here?
For instance, if you're a novelty wrinkled contestant on a crowd-pleasing reality talent show, your entire act might as well consist of simply stating your age. And the bigger the number, the more cheers you generate.
Do you mind me asking how old you are?
74.
Wow.
Good try.
If you don't mind me asking, Janie, how old are you?
80.
80.
Pretty impressive.
Here's Morgan.
William, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 82.
Fuck you too, Simon.
Now that's what I call ageing. Old people have fallen victim to symbolic annihilation. Excluded from the media, they feel culturally obsolete.
The irony is old people watch more TV than any other age group. And
Yeah.
what do they see when they tune in? Well, they see themselves being sidelined and belittled. No wonder they're all so miserable.
Just as toddlers are often propped up in front of the TV screen to keep them quiet, so are old people, left there, sitting in rows, staring mournfully at a machine that's doing its best to ignore their very existence. But what are these old people actually watching? Shows traditionally thought to be of interest to older viewers include Songs of Praise, in which rows of sycophants desperately attempt to curry favour with a notional omnipotent deity by singing turgid pop songs at him. Or genteel televised jumble sales like Antiques Roadshow, in which object-owning members of the human race stand in the grounds of dizzyingly expensive mansions having their worldly goods evaluated.
We're talking about a figure certainly in excess of £10,000.
Ooh, someone's going to buy a jet ski and ride it round and round and round like P. Diddy.
Wow.
Then there's Countdown, in which the hours before the grave can be gently whiled away solving meaningless anagrams. Countdown's a bit of an odd choice for the elderly viewer, really. When I'm really old, I don't think I want to spend my afternoons staring at a gigantic, mercilessly ticking clock, waiting for the last few precious seconds to expire, while two young people demonstrate their superior mental agility.
Enlarges?
No, I'd like to spend my afternoon staring at Rachel Riley, though.
And a nubile woman in a figure-hugging dress taunts me with sexually charged consonants and vowels.
What have you got there, Rachel?
Just came into my mind.
Brilliant.
I think when I'm 80, I'd rather watch young people being kicked into the sea. One of the main reasons old folk are overlooked by modern television is that advertisers aren't particularly enthused by them. Not that they totally overlook them, they're only too happy to perk them up with uplifting messages from familiar faces.
I've always enjoyed spending time at home with my family and friends. But did you know that every year over 25,000 adults under the age of 50 die in Britain?
Or scooter ads which resemble broadcasts from a rather charming future in which a race of silverhead humans who communicate exclusively through waving have evolved their own electronic wheels.
That's just Invasion of the Body
You rarely
Snatchers.
see old folks in ads that aren't aimed at old folks. OAPs used to feature more frequently in commercials, for instance in the heartwarming Heinz soup ads or the salty mini-movies starring kindly cod-corpse salesman Captain Birdseye. A man whose crew were so young that if his ship capsized it'd be the first time they'd been swimming since they made it to the uterus. Or in the nostalgic Werther's Original Butter Candy adverts in which a parade of kindly, well-meaning grandpas bonded with the younger generation by pecking them on the cheek or leading them out into the middle of the forest or showing them funny photos of train crash victims. At least I think that's what's happening here. I mean, that's what granddads sometimes do, yeah?
Yeah.
But today ads like this are scarce because over a decade of unrelenting offenders register scaremongering by the media has made images of older men enjoying the company of young boys seem automatically less wholesome than the makers intended.
I mean, that's not
When
entirely
I watch it, I wouldn't want it
scaremongering.
on my hard drive.
He's someone very special too, you know.
It's not entirely scaremongering. It doesn't exactly help that seemingly half of children's presenters from the 80s and 90s and 70s ended up being pedophiles. That doesn't help. Speaking of which, they just sent Gary Glitter back to prison.
Summary then, TV has never quite got you.
In
When you're a
related
kiddie wink,
news.
it's just a meaningless light source. When you're young, it either demonises or patronises you. When you're in your middle years, it makes you feel too old by ruthlessly highlighting your flaws. When you're older than that, it wipes you off screen altogether and leaves you feeling socially irrelevant.
And when you're really old, it sneaks into your room in the dead of night, holds a pillow over your face, and quite literally murders you with invisible electric hands. What a monster! I liked the echo.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I've never heard of that 10 Years Younger show, but I think we may have found the worst television show of all time. Like, that was just horrific. Whatever that was. That might be, like, that was the worst thing I've ever seen, I think, was that 10 Years Younger show. I think that was the worst thing I've ever seen. And I've seen Towie. I've seen the Towie live special, and I think that was the worst thing I've ever seen, was that 10 Years Younger show. Like, that's something I thought maybe would be on television here, on like fucking MTV or fucking TLC network, but no. You guys are responsible for that one? Dear Lord. We probably have a similar show, but I'm not going to go seek it out. Yeah, that might have been the worst thing I've ever seen. Overall, good start, I think, to this series. He's definitely, he's absolutely right that television does have a crucial role of how it shapes society and fear-mongering. He might be overdramatic at points, maybe so, maybe not. As far as how the show is aged, again, I think the internet has really taken over this role more as television. I think the internet has definitely taken over as the top fear-mongering device, because now everybody just goes on social media, on Twitter and Facebook, if anyone still uses Facebook, and whatever the fuck, and all the fear-mongering and stuff. But this still very much applies, especially to the older generation, because the older generation, like he said, are more likely to watch TV than use the internet, even with the rise of the internet. Speaking of which, what day is this going up? Wednesday? Yeah, is this supposed to go up on Wednesday? I'm recording this on Sunday. It'd be interesting to see how what's happened since then, because you know what? I'm just gonna say this ahead of time. If you've made this to this point in the video, according to former President Donald Trump, he believes he's due to be arrested yesterday as this comes out. So, was he? I guess we'll find out. And what's the fallout from that, Ben? Should be interesting. I'm in the past, so I don't know. But that was it for How TV Ruined Your Life, first 2 episodes. Thank you, Falcon, for using your points in this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like. If you didn't like it, don't. If you want to follow any of my social media links, my Twitter, I stream every single day on my second channel. First any views, my Twitter, follow me on my Patreon if you want to support me, or my Daily Motion. All those things are in the video description down below, as well as Twitch VODs channel and the community Reddit. Unless I end up having to put this on Daily Motion, of course, then you're on my Daily Motion. Also in the video, also thank you to all my patrons, by the way, for supporting me in my channels. For those that know, you can be a patron on me for as low as $1, £1, and you get your name in the video description. In addition to that, you also get extra direction videos, as well as reading copies up to a day early, sometimes more. For instance, they're going to get this video more of a day early. With all that being said, though, my name is Taffy. It's been my reaction to the first 2 episodes of How TV Ruined Your Life, and I'll see you guys next time.